So today I'm going to show you how to make an SMS sequence that has conditional responses. And the scenario I want to go with is one that's pretty familiar to a lot of you. Let's say you have a free consultation that people can sign up for, and inevitably some of those people are just going to be no-shows. And you've probably dealt with this before. It takes a lot of time to follow up with them and kind of like get them all rescheduled and things like that. So I was thinking, what if we could automate some of that? So let's say you have this consultation and you want to automate it so they get a text the day before to confirm if they're coming for that consultation or not, right? And they can respond one of two ways, really. They either are a yes or a no, or maybe they just don't respond at all, right? Which is might as well be a no. But anyways, you're going to have this branching path now. So people who say yes, you're going to want to be able to send different messages than people who say no, right? And so what I've kind of built here is a little like tree for the texting path I'm going to take people down. And this is really a good way I recommend for kind of designing your SMS conditional response campaigns so that you kind of know what the options are and where you're going to send people before you get into Plus This and try to build it from scratch, because it's going to be a lot harder. It's very much like your CRM system where usually you want to sketch out your plan or your strategy before you go in and you just build it. So on this one you can just see here, I'll go through it pretty quickly. We start with the same question for everyone. Now, will you want to be able to send out the day before their scheduled consultation? And we're just going to ask them if they're still good to attend their consultation tomorrow. And you might put in like a yes or no kind of option thing here just to help guide them down the path that you want them, the keywords that they should use so you can trigger the different kind of messages. So let's just go down this one first really quickly. If they say yes, that's really easy, right? You just send another message that says, great, see you tomorrow, or whatever you want to say for those kind of follow-ups. But if they go no, it gets a little bit more complicated. So if they say no, the next thing, this would be like our step 2 here. We would want to say, sorry to hear that. Would you like to reschedule? So we can give them a chance to do that. And again, we can do a yes or no path if we wanted on this one. And let's just do the yes one first since that's simpler. If they say yes, then you can have it so we send out an SMS with a link to reschedule. And if they say no, we're just going to follow up. This is probably like step 3 here. And we want to know why they changed their mind, basically. So we want to be able to get an answer from them and be able to store this somewhere so that we can know the reasons why people are changing their mind. Maybe we just don't have some good times for their time zone. Maybe they changed their mind because they're using a competitor. All kinds of options there, right? And so this is the message they might send for an example. And then we're going to have like a thank you or like the very last message here that goes out at the end, just appreciating them for their time and thanking them there. So this is kind of the tree we're going to build inside of Plus This now. So let me go ahead and show you how we do that. Alright, so we're in Plus This and we're going to make an SMS sequence. So we'll go in and create one of those. And I'm going to assume that you already have your Twilio integration. If you don't already, then what you need for any of our SMS features is to just go set up a free Twilio account, get a phone number there that you want to send your text messages from, and then just you'll put into, when you get into Plus This and you set up any of these for the first time, it'll just ask for like their API key and stuff like that from Twilio. And we have instructions in the sidebars and on the site for how to do that whole thing if you need help. But let's say that you've already got that all set up. And in this situation, because we're setting it as like a reminder the day before, we're going to use an HTTP post instead of having them text a keyword for like a text opt-in on this situation. Here we're going to pick our phone number, and we've been storing our cell phones in phone 2, but you might have a different field you want to have this set to. But this is basically the number that you're going to have this text sent out to. So then we're going to start with our first sequence here. So let me just to remind you, show you the slide again really quick. So this is our slide we're building. So we're going to build this message here first. It's basically a consultation confirmation. We're going to ask that exact question that we have there. So we'll go right back really quickly. All right. And so we'll call this consultation confirmation. I like how that rings. Okay, cool. And then we're going to ask, are you still good to attend our consultation tomorrow? And we might just do a yes, no. Cool. And one other thing I'm going to do here, just for my own edification, and maybe a suggestion for you all too, is it's nice to have like a naming convention when you're making these sequences, just so it's easy to follow where you are. So you'll see in this sequence map, once we make a little SMS sequence or a message, it's going to add it here so we can see what messages we have and like where they're going to be, so we can easily go back and forth. So this is the easy one. If you have their name, you can also do a merge field. So if you wanted to, you could do this. You can say like, hi, Bryce, or whoever it is. Are you still interested? Good to attend our consultation tomorrow. Perfect. All right, and then we're going to save this response, and we're not going to store it because we don't need to on this example. But if you would want to store their yes or no for some reason, you can pick a field for that. And then we are going to configure some conditions. So this is where it gets fun. And again, having that little tree handy for the reference is really nice. So let's look at that really quick so I can show you what we're building here. All right, so we're basically building a tree for a yes answer and a no answer. So we're going to set the conditions so that if they reply with a yes, then we're going to send them one sequence. We'll do that one first. And if they say no, they'll do the other one. Whenever you're building these kind of conditions out, I recommend just going with the shorter branch first so you can finish that up, and then coming back and doing the longer one. And you'll see how easy it is to do when we go through this one really quick. So back to plus this. All right, so let's set up the condition if they say yes. So this time we're going to say equals, because we want it to equal a yes, basically. We add that there, and we can apply a tag when this condition is met. But I'm not going to do one in this situation. You can if you want. And then like you could do like a confirmation confirmed. And then we're going to say what sequence we want to do next. Because this is the very first one we've done, we don't have any in here yet. So what we're going to do is we're just going to make a new one. And we're going to call this, just looking at this one, we're going to call it confirmation received, or whatever we want to name that there. And if they say yes, we're just going to respond back with a great see you tomorrow, exclamation point. Done. Again, you can save your response if you want. You don't have to. And then this one, because it is the last one on our, let me show you, 1 second. It's the last one on our tree, if you remember. Right here. It's going to be the last one, so we don't need to send any more messages after this. That's it. It's over. So go back to plus this really quick. And we're not going to send anything after this one. It's done. All right. So now what we can do, if we were looking up here, we have our sequence map. Let's go back to step 1 because we've got the yes condition. Now we need to make the no condition. So equals this. No. Again, you can apply a tag. So this one is a needs to reschedule tag, we'll say. And again, we don't have the next sequence for this response made yet, so we're going to just make one really quickly. And this one is going to be, this is step 2, because now we're going to have another follow-up after this if we want. And this will be needs to reschedule. Save that. And here we're just going to say sorry to hear that. And if you're wondering what I'm doing, I'm just copying what I already put in the messaging in my little quick map I diagrammed out there of the different text messages. So it's really easy for me to not have to even worry about what goes in each of these. I'm just following that map. It helps if I can spell though. Alright, yes or no. Done. Alright, again, merge if you want, don't have to. Store if you want, don't have to. And then this one is, because it's another one of these steps that they're taking, that they can say yes or no to this again, we're going to set some conditions. And if we're looking at our map again, where there's the yes or no. So we're going to do equals. And the yes one's shorter on this one, so we'll start with that one. And we are going to say that they go to another message that we don't have yet. So let's go ahead and make that one. And this is basically just going to be send reschedule link. So I'll say perfect. So if they say yes to wanting a link, we'll send it here. Here's a link to reschedule. And you might just like include a bit.ly, like a really short link that you can just do for your scheduling. I'm just making up stuff here. Again, you have your place to store it if you want. And if we look at our tree, this is the last one. So we'll just look at that again so you can really quickly see what we're doing here. Let me put it up on the screen. So yeah, so we just finished that one. We said the yes condition, and this is the message they get with the yes condition. So pretty straightforward so far. Go back to plus this. And yep, again, this is the end. So there's nothing to send after this one. That's perfect. So we'll go back to step 2, because now we just need to do the condition if they don't say yes, if they say no, right? So equal contain, we'll say no. Add one. And we need to make the sequence for that. So if we look back at our little diagram here, we can see under no that we're now just going down a straightforward path. We're asking an open-ended question now. So we're going to say sad, we'd love to know what changed your mind. That way we can kind of start collecting some more information about why people are canceling. And that way we can address it, or we can do other follow-up based on that as well if you wanted to. So going back here to plus this, we're going to now create our next sequence for the no. And this is basically, what do we want to call this one? We're asking why they changed their mind. So we'll just say that. Why the change of mind. And here we put our message. Perfect. Okay. And then in this one, it's interesting because we're going to want them to send us a reason, right? Like maybe they went to a competitor, maybe the times just didn't work out, maybe there was an emergency that made them change what they had on their schedule. It could be all kinds of things, right? And so the next message after that is really just the last message we're going to send to anyone. on this path as well. But we're going to have it basically go out no matter what they say. We're not setting conditions for this. We're not looking for a specific keyword or anything in the response. We're just going to wait for them to share the reason why they're changing their schedule or canceling on us, and then we're going to send a message that follows up with that. So we'll go ahead, we'll add the next step, and this is, if we look at the little diagram again, if you're remembering that, we're just saying appreciate your time basically. So we say appreciate your feedback, thanks for your time. Cool. And then that's the end of this one too, so we don't need to send anything after that. Okay, so there's one other thing we need to do whenever we have conditions. So these step 1 and step 2, we had conditions on these, so we got to make sure there's an opportunity for people to mess around and not actually answer the questions or play around with this thing. So they might send something that makes no sense to plus this. It might just be like a maybe or some sarcastic. And if that's the case, we need to be able to set some kind of criteria for if the criteria is not met. If none of the criteria is met, what sequence should be sent next? So we usually recommend creating something called a fallback sequence, or a fallback message. So we'll do that really quick. Fallback message. And this could be as simple as just saying, sorry, didn't understand that. And this really is just kind of going to close it out. So you might have something where if they're really not responding with the prompts that you're giving them, they're just wasting time, then you can have it say something else where it says, sorry, I didn't understand that. Feel free to reach out if you need to schedule. And give them like your email or something else, because they're obviously not reading instructions on your SMS messages, or the instructions might need to be a little bit more clear. You might need to add some of the little prompts in there, like what we have in there where it says yes or no or things like that. So anyways, that's our fallback message. Again, we're not saying anything after that one, but you could have a fallback message with follow-up afterwards. And it could go on, but we're just going to keep this really simple here. So we have our fallback message. So if we go back to step 1, we have the yes, the no, and then we have our fallback option if none of the criteria is met. And then we need to go step 2 where there's some more conditions we set, and we're going to have another, fallback message. Perfect, it's already there. Cool, so I think that is all we need to do to set this up. We're going to then go ahead and do this option here where we can create a note on the contact record with this conversation. So if you want to be able to know what they said all the way across this and the back and forth there, you can totally store that. You can choose what kind of note you want to store that in. And then you have some additional options too to play around with. But for now, that's good enough. So we'll do our SMS demo with a let's call it a consultation confirmation. We're going to save. Perfect. All right, so once it's saved, it's really easy. We have our first step, which was step 1 in there. Makes total sense. You can have it start with a different one if you want, but usually the first one you put together is going to be your first step. And then you have a backup country code, so if you need to use a different country code, you can as the backup if your phone number doesn't already include one, basically. And then here is where we're going to have our feature URL, and so that's the HTTP post. Okay, so we're going to go to our conditional SMS consultation confirmation campaign. Really simple. We've set up a form for people to register for their consultation, and then here's where you can send your reminders, your confirmation. Obviously, when you're in here, you can schedule it so that the HTTP post for this reminder goes out a day before, or however long you want it to go out before the actual confirmation. but for just simplicity, we're just keeping it very straightforward. And then here, it's going to be blank. I put one in there before just to test it, but it looks good here. We're going to paste it. You can put it as ready, and that is it. So now I'm going to show you what it actually looks like on the phone in the next little bit. Alright, so now we've gotten the text message, so I'm just going to show you kind of like what it's like when we start typing this in. So let's say they say no, since that's a little bit more interesting than yes, right? So they're not going to attend the consultation. We're going to show you what happens when that goes through. So it's going to say, sorry to hear that, would you like to reschedule? Let's say yes. And then they're going to get a text back with the schedule link here. Perfect, here's a link to reschedule. So they can just click that link, reschedule, and it works super easily. Cool.